birds noticing their departure, for they were all busy gossiping or discussing the great berry or digestion questions. It was towards evening when they reached an open plain, and here they met an emu. As both Dot and the Kangaroo were thirsty, they asked the emu the way to a water hole or tank. "I'm going to a tank now," replied the emu. "Let us proceed together." "Do you think it will be safe to drink tonight?" inquired the Kangaroo anxiously. "Well, to tell the truth," said the emu lightly, "it is likely to be a little difficult. There is a somewhat straining feeling between the white humans and ourselves just now. In consequence, we have to resort to a little strategy on our visits to the tanks, and we avoid eating anything tempting left about at camping places." "Are they laying poison for you?" asked the Kangaroo in horrified tones. "They are doing something of the kind, we think," answered the emu airily, "for some of us have had most unpleasant symptoms after picking up morsels at camping grounds. Several have died. We were quite surprised, for hitherto there had been no better cure for emu indigestion than wire nails, hoop iron, and preserved milk cans. The worst symptoms have yielded to scraps of barbed wire in my own case, but these emus died in spite of all remedies." "But I heard," said the Kangaroo, "that emus were protected by the government. I never understood why." "We are protected," said the huge bird, "because we form a part of the Australian arms." "So do we," said the Kangaroo, "but we are not protected." "True," said the bird, "but the humans can make some money out of you when you are dead, whereas we serve no purpose at all, excepting alive. Then we add a charm to the scenery, and moreover each of our eggs will make a pound cake. But the time will come, friend, when there will be neither emu nor kangaroo for Australia's arms. No creature will be left to represent the land but the bunny rabbit and the sheep." "I hate the sheep," said the Kangaroo. "They eat all our grass." "You have not studied them as we have," answered the emu. "They are most entertaining. We have great fun with them. And we've learnt some capital sheep games from those dogs humans drive them with. It's really exciting to drive a big mob, when they want to break and scatter. We were chasing them here and there all over the plain today." "I don't like sheep," said Dot. "They are so stupid." "So they are," agreed the emu, "and that is what puzzles me. What is it about the sight of sheep that excites one so? When one gets into a big flock one has to dance. One can't help oneself. We had a great dance in a flock today, and the lambs would get under our feet. So I'm sorry to say a good many of them were killed." "Men will certainly kill you if you do that," said Dot. "We know it," chuckled the emu. "That is why the tank is not quite safe just now. But this evening I will show you a new plan by which to learn if humans are camped at a tank or not. We have played the trick with great success for several nights." Conversing thus, the emu, the Kangaroo, and Dot wandered on until the emu requested them to wait for a few minutes, whilst it peeped at the tank, which was still a long way off. It presently returned and said that it felt quite suspicious, because everything looked so clear and safe. "From this point of high ground," said the bird, "you can watch our proceedings. I will now give the signal and return to my post here." The emu then ran at a great pace along the edge of the plain, and emitted a strange rattling cry. After disappearing from sight for a time, it returned hurriedly to where Dot and her friend were waiting. "Now see," said the emu, nodding at the distant side of the plain. Dot's eyes were not so keen of sight as those of an emu, but she thought she could see something like a little cloud of dust far, far away across the dry brown grass of the plain. Soon she was quite sure that the little cloud was advancing towards her side of the plain, and in the direction of the tank. As it came nearer she could see the bobbing heads of emus popping up above the dust, and she could see some of the birds running round the little cloud. "What is the cause of all that dust?" she asked the emu. "Sheep," it answered with a merry chuckle. "But what are the emus doing with the sheep?" asked Dot and the Kangaroo, now fully interested in the emu's manoeuvre. "They are driving them to the water at the tank," said the bird, highly delighted with the scheme. "The sheep will soon know that they are near water and will go to it without driving. Then we shall watch, and if they quietly drink and scatter, it will be safe for us. But if they see anything unusual and break and run, well, we shan't drink at the tank tonight. There will be humans and dogs there, and we don't cultivate their society just now." "Really, that is the cleverest thing I have heard for a long time," said the Kangaroo, full of admiration for the trick. "How did you jump to that conclusion?" "The idea sprang upon us," answered the Emu, with an immense hop in the air and a dancing movement when it came to the ground again. "Dear me!" it exclaimed. "The sight of those sheep is beginning to excite me, and I can hardly keep still. I wonder what there is so exciting about sheep." Dot could see now the advancing flock of sheep with their attendant mob of emu quite well. The animals had got scent of the water, and with contented bleating were slowly moving with a rippling effect across the dusty plain. The mob of emu soon left the sheep to go their own way, and grouped in a cluster, watched with bobbing heads every movement of the flock. Dot, the Kangaroo, and the Emu looked towards the tank with silent interest. "I'm stationed here," whispered the bird, "to give a warning in case there is any danger in this direction. Emus are posted all round the tank on the same duty." Dot could see the whole scene well. Far beyond a few low shrubs on the opposite side of the sheet of water, there was no sheltering bush near the great tank which had been excavated on the bare plain. Onward came the sheep, and quite stationary in the distance remained the emu mob. Just as the first sheep were descending the deep slope of the tank, a plover rose from amongst the bushes with a shrill cry. The emu started at the sound and whispered to the Kangaroo, "There'll be no drink tonight. Watch." The cry of the plover seemed to arrest the advance of the timid sheep. They waited in a closely packed flock, looking around, but presently the old leader gave a deep bleat, and they moved forward towards the water. "Shriek! Shriek!" cried the plover from the bushes, screaming as they rose and flew away, and suddenly the flock of sheep broke and hurried back to the open plain. At the same instant Dot could hear the sharp barking of a sheep dog, a noise that produced an instant effect on the creatures she was with. With lightning speed the Kangaroo had popped her into her pouch and was hopping away, and the emu was striding with its long legs as fast as it could for the cover of the bush. Just as they entered the bush shelter, Dot peeped out of the pouch across the plain, and could see the mob of emu in a cloud of dust, running, and almost out of sight. When they had reached a place of safety, the friendly emu bid the Kangaroo and Dot good night. "We shall have to go thirsty tonight," it said, "but there will be a heavy dew and the grass will be wet enough to cool one's mouth. That pretty trick of ours was such a success that it is almost worth one's while to lose one's drink in proving it." Turning to Dot, it said, "You will be able to tell the big humans that we emus are not such fools as they think, and that we find their flocks of silly sheep most useful and entertaining animals." Chuckling to itself, the emu strode off, leaving Dot and the Kangaroo to pass another night in the solitude of the bush. End of chapter 10.